Hello! Welcome to Potion Con. This is Let's Cook Up Some Board Games with the designers of Critter Kitchen. I'm Peter C. Hayward.
I'm Alex Cutler.
And we are, coincidentally, considering this is the event we're doing, the designers of Critter Kitchen, this game.
It really worked out well.
I know, yeah, really lucky. So we are going to be talking about the design process of Critter Kitchen and what we like about it and how cool it is and how you should definitely check out the Kickstarter or play demos or just dream about it tonight when you're sleeping. And then what are we going to do, Alex?
We're going to design some games. I believe we've got Rosie running things from behind the scenes. So she's going to have audience suggestions and we're going to take games and Critter-ify them.
Yeah, or kitchenify them.
No.
Only Critter-ify
We can
them.
Critter Kitchenify them, but then it's just Critter Kitchen.
Alex, how did we make this game?
Oh, it's a long story. So actually,
I hope you all have 2 hours.
We can plug the designer diaries a little
Oh,
bit
yeah,
right here,
that's
right?
true.
So the first one's live on BGG.
Yes.
So on BoardGameGeek.com, Peter, who is the better writer between the two of us,
And the taller and more handsome.
Yeah.
Just while we're listening.
Has done a series of 7 design diaries. And the first one is live now on BGG. So we'll cliff notes and summarize some of those. But if you're interested in checking out a more in-depth picture of the journey with pictures and things like that, that is live. The first one's live now, and they'll sort of stagger throughout the campaign, and that'll be exciting to have those released.
It's gonna be cool.
But yeah, so the starting point for Critter Kitchen for us as designers was this was maybe 6-7 years ago at this point.
Yeah,
I had a very simple idea in my head of I wanted a worker placement game that had a large worker, a medium worker, and a small worker. And the original theme was kind of nothing placeholders. You're building taverns in a city, and the person who finishes their tavern first gets all the business and wins. And you had a big worker and a medium worker and a small worker. And
child labor, medium child labor, and then adult labor. It was great. The whole range.
They were all children. It's just different sizes of children.
4-year-old, 8-year-old, 12-year-old.
Anyway, we would place these. You make me lose my train of thought. Like, my brain does not work that way. We've got a comment on Peter's hair. It's true. It is fierce.
It's actually just a filter. It's just a very normal, boring hair. But
he's completely bald in the beard. So 3 sizes of workers, and it was blind selection of where you're going to send them. You had a little map of the player board behind your screen. And if a worker went to a space and a larger worker came, they'd bully them out and they'd get some little consolation prize, and the big worker would work the spot. And I'd never really put it on the table. It was just kind of a loose concept. And Peter and I,
you told me, and I said, it'll never work.
Yeah.
Throw it out.
And then
Quit game design.
We made no games. This whole Kickstarter is a farce. There's nothing propped up by Sandar art and duct tape.
No, it's
we've spent an ungodly number of hours working on this game, and which hopefully shows through in the final product. We're very proud of it. I would say, Peter, this is the game I've worked on the most of anything I've ever designed.
I think so, yeah.
Anyway, so I had an idea. I just pitched it to Peter kind of casually because we were looking at working together. This is probably 5 years ago at this point, 4 years ago.
Wow,
it was pre-COVID times, yeah. And
it was before we met, so it was like.
And then Peter was interested in the concept, but thought it needed something a little bit different. So
we proceeded to make, and this I take full blame for this.
Yeah.
I thought, you know what, this should be a heavy 3-hour Euro, and so we spent 2 years working on this monstrosity of a game that kept on collapsing, and every time it collapsed, we'd rebuild it with more mechanics, and then those would collapse, so we'd add more mechanics until in the design diaries I put a photo of this. Like, the board is just, you can't understand what's happening at all.
It became lightly fantasy themed, so we had like trolls and humans and goblins as the 3 different sizes. We were calling it Fairy City as our working title.
Yeah, the trolls were in Trolland.
Trolland.
Goblins were in Goblindianapolis.
Goblindianapolis, yeah. And
humans were in Humanchester.
Humanitoba.
Humanitoba, that's right.
Very important. So it snowballed, right? It got bigger and bigger and bigger. It wasn't quite working. And in the in-between time, Peter and I had worked on other games together, and it was always kind of a back burner project. And then Peter ended up coming to visit me. I live in Raleigh, North Carolina. Peter lives in LA.
Which is where we are now.
Yeah, we're coming to you live from LA. I flew out here for this. I don't think that's right.
You've not seen the Hollywood sign. You don't know what
true.
It's like.
I'm from Raleigh, so who knows?
We actually paid to have it replaced with the words Critter Kitchen. That's the level of promotion we're doing.
Critterwood. Yeah. So Peter was staying with me at our house in Raleigh for like a month and a half, 2 months.
Long time.
In 2022.
Yep.
Right before Origins, which is a gaming convention. And we kind of had this moment. I think it was Peter's suggestion was
burn it down.
This is too much game. This is not working.
What do we do?
But that core concept, that idea of this blind worker placement that has different sizes of workers pushing each other out of spaces, that's still very solid. So what if we distill that down to its core and
just made that instead of that with
so
1,000 systems on every side?
We were driving home from another smaller convention, Unpub,
great convention
in Baltimore, and it was like a 6-hour car ride, some 3-hour car.
It was
4 or 5
hours,
long drive, and we basically designed 70% of what Critter Kitchen is today on that car ride together. It's
just stripping it down to that basic idea and building out again. So Alex's idea was the 3 different size workers, and then my contribution, which I'm very proud, is that the one that goes the fastest, like the weakest one takes 1 thing, and the strongest one takes 3, or the other way around. The one that goes the way Critter Kitchen works. So the core of Critter Kitchen is that you have 3 chefs. You have a little mouse, you have a medium-sized lizard, and you have a big old boar. The mouse is very, very speedy, but can only take 1 thing. The lizard is medium speed and can take 2 things, and the boar is slow but can take 3. So if you can go somewhere with just the boar and no one else is there, you get everything. But if there's something you really want, you're best off sending your mouse there. And so that 1, 2, 3 aspect, that was my contribution, and those 2 came together, and that is genuinely like the heart of Critter Kitchen, right there.
And it is a system that is perfectly adapted for adding content onto it. The vast majority of the development process for us since Critter Kitchen was signed has been adding and expanding content around that core system, but the core system really hasn't changed.
We have played, like we spent the first 3-4 months of development with Cardboard Alchemy just playing the core system, like none of the added stuff whatsoever. Just really, we wanted to make sure before we added anything that we had the most stable base possible. So after that car drive, we put it together, and this doesn't happen, but it basically started working straight away.
Yes, which is rare in game design.
It really doesn't happen.
And it's kind of one of those things where it was most assuredly because we had spent so much time doing the wrong thing that we knew what the right thing would be. If we had been starting from scratch, I don't think it would have come together that fast.
At all.
But because we had sort of 2 years of background of knowing what didn't work, it was great to, hop in
and so we threw out the magic theme because it didn't feel like magic. You weren't doing anything magical. And we went with critters because they're adorable. I didn't tell this in the design diaries. I was very resistant to the name Critter Kitchen. You really had to work to convince me because I'm not American. So like critter for me is not a word. So I was like, I think people will find that weird. And Alex was like, no, trust me. Like, I got this. That's a lot of our design relationship. I'm like, and he's like, nah. And he's always right. It's very, very convenient.
He's Canadian, as you can tell.
From the hair. The Canadian hair.
It's traditional.
The Canadian flag. So
the game came together very fast. We had 2-3 weeks to kind of spit shine it before Origins. And we were pitching it at that show. So we were still testing it because Origins is a great show for testing games. But
we spent all of Origins steadily and really consistently making it worse. Like every play test was worse than the previous one, worse than the previous one, worse than the previous one. And then we had some pitches coming up, and I said to Alex, what if we undid everything we've done at this convention? Literally all of it. And then we pitched it like the version that we came in with day one, I think maybe like 1 small tweak. And it just went back to being so fun. It was. You played some of the worst ones of that because you were off doing other stuff a lot of the time. I was just running it, being like, Alex, I've changed this. Alex, I've changed this. It's worse now. It's worse again. It's worse again.
And Peter and I, as a design team, like we are all about rapid ideation, iteration. Just try it and see what works, what doesn't work. Peter and I will, toot your horn for you a little bit. You're very good at tooting your own horn, but I'll toot your horn for you a little bit.
It's because I'm so handsome.
Peter is absolutely fantastic at iterating and I don't like remaking a whole prototype. Peter will do it twice in a day. Right. Like, and we're able to
burn it down, start again.
We're able to work so quickly as a design team, which is great.
Yes. Brad, who is over there, he's in the room. He said the practice of undesign, and that's absolutely what that was. Actually, I won't go too deep in the weeds, but I will talk a little bit about what those changes were. So this is almost pathological. I don't like it when people have a bad time. It makes me uncomfortable when anyone's having a bad time. And so what I wanted to do was smooth off every time anyone missed out on a thing. And the core of this idea is that if you send your slow guy and there's a bunch of fast ones, you don't get as much. And I was like, but what if you did? What if you got just as much no matter what you did? Shockingly, that did not make the game any better. So for a while, like, you were just getting rewarded for not playing the game, and shockingly, it was not as good.
So by that point, by Origins, we had the Critter theme locked in, the Critter Kitchen theme locked in, where Critter's running restaurants. The core ingredients have been the same since the beginning. We
think we chose them based on color.
Yeah,
that's
right?
the
like
theory.
Brown bread, orange carrots, red meat. Like it's nice to have a variety of colors as well as symbols.
Yeah. And also making sure we're not like doing 7 different types of vegetable.
Yeah, sure. And Peter, who lives in LA, the other Peter Vaughn, who co-owns Cardboard Alchemy with Brad, lives in LA. He was at Origins. We actually didn't end up playing it with him at Origins, but he said, we live in the same city. We'll just play it when we get back home. Yeah. Peter played it with Peter. The Peters petered, and the contract petered out in the good way. And
Peter fell in love with the game and then showed it to Brad, and Brad fell in love with the game, and then they called Sandara and went like, hey, you like making really pretty cool, cute stuff? And she was like, are you offering me an opportunity to do that? Because if not, please go away. And he was. So so we got Sandara on board, and then it's interesting, like, again, I don't want to get too far into the weeds, but because we made the game so quickly, like that was 3 weeks from that car conversation until it basically got signed. We've done a lot more post-signing dev than you would normally do, because
and I see one of the questions that came up in the chat is, how much does the game company affect? There you go. Cool. How much does the game company affect game design? With Cardboard Alchemy, it was what we pitched. I've worked with Peter Vaughn before. I have a game, Expansity, that Peter was the developer on when he was at Breaking Games before Cardboard Alchemy was the thing.
That was your debut title.
The Peters know each other from Los Angeles. They've played games out here. We were a known quantity. He knew that we were sort of good for it if we're signing a game and promising that we will do work on the tail end. So even though the core system was very solid
and identical, like the core has not changed since that car ride.
But because it was what it is, but Cardboard Alchemy is a Kickstarter focused company. Obviously you want stretch goals and add-ons and things that can like make the game expandable, right? So we're like, yes, we are good for this. We can make you content. If you sign this game, we will work our tails off, critter pun intended, to make this game what you want it to be.
We were talking about this at breakfast this morning. Alex is staying with me at the moment, so we had breakfast at Starbucks this morning. Plug the sponsor of the show, Starbucks. And we were talking about, it's such a delight to, one of my favorite things in all creative work is when the premise is fully explored. Like I just finished reading The Long Earth by Terry Pratchett and Stephen Baxter. And it's such an interesting premise that they then get bored of immediately and just start adding other stuff. And I'm like, no, go back to that idea. With Critter Kitchen, working with Cardboard Alchemy, we have just absolutely been able to explore this premise and like what this core idea that is that's a very cute comment. This core idea is something that we are so proud of, and then we've been able to, through the expansions and that kind of content, be like, okay, cool, let's find the bounds of what you can do with that. And I really think we have filled that space as effectively as you can. He said very modestly.
Well, I mean, so a lot of game design as professional designers is showing a thing to a company, them taking a risk on it, right? And then the final product being mostly what you want it to be, or, not quite what you want it to be, making compromises, right? But throughout this entire process, pretty much anytime Peter and I have wanted to add a thing or have like fought for, hey, this will make the game better, this will make the product better, this will make the Kickstarter better, Peter and Brad have said, okay, let's do it, right? And
let's get to the table and make sure we agree, which is hugely important.
Yes, that is also important, but we're usually right because we're good at what we do. And the final product, which I am not gonna spoil, what the Kickstarter has in store, obviously, but the amount of content.
I'll tell you 2 things. There's critters and kitchens, but that's all. That's
we
all.
We cut the critter.
There's a kitchen, one kitchen only.
Singular. Yeah,
there's a photo
kitchen.
of
the
a
game
kitchen.
Is called Kitchen now. The amount of content that they have let us shove into this box is unreal. There's no other board game company on earth, I think, that could have done this game better.
We're so happy
than
with
Cardboard Alchemy.
What's the time looking like? Okay, I'm going to very quickly tell the story of carts because it's one of my favorite stories. Which is that there's the different locations in Critter Kitchen. There's the water market and the garden top shop and the desert market. And from before we signed it, Peter was like, can we have location powers? And I was steadfastly like, so Peter Vaughn, I'm also Peter. It's very confusing. Peter Vaughn was like, can we have location powers? And I was like, I can't fit that in my head. And that's one of my problems. If I can't imagine it at all, I don't know where to start. And then we were playing locally at an event called First Play LA, which is actually where we've played this game a lot now. And someone was like, desert vendor, more like dessert vendor. And Peter Vaughan was like, yeah, that would be nice, but Peter won't let us do it. And I was like, oh, like getting stuff from there, that I can do. And I went away with a pen and paper and just wrote down like a bunch of them, brought them back. And I think 3 of them are in the game unchanged. Like literally 20 minutes later, I was like, okay, now that you've framed it slightly differently, I know how to do this.
Unchanged, but well tested.
Well tested, yes. And, and then I called Alex and was like, hey, we've got them working. And then he developed a bunch. And so they have gone from literally not existing and I can't conceive of them.
And you know, the stuff that's public knowledge right now with like the restaurateurs that you've seen, if you've watched How to Play videos or taken a look at some of the content, right? Even just the restaurateurs you've seen, the critics you've seen, the zoo chefs you've seen, just the
five carts have
zoo chefs, restaurateurs were not in the game when it was signed, right? Those are both systems that came in because we were allowed to fully explore this space.
It was part of the pitch, so it was
part of the pitch, but it was just one of those things where Critter Kitchen could have been a much different game with a different publisher,
a smaller publisher, a less ambitious
publisher. And Cardboard Alchemy is very ambitious, and they pull it off.
Yeah, so we love it. So yeah, the carts went from not even being conceivable by me to being possibly my favorite part of the game, and any other publisher that just wouldn't have existed. Anyway, that's the story of Critter Kitchen. Anything key that you want?
I think that's a great setup for diving into it. So
yes,
we will there we go. So Rosie says we are challenging the designers to come up with the Critter or Kitchen or both versions of popular games.
Hit us. What can we design on the spot? Clue. Ooh. Is one of the rooms in Clue a kitchen?
Yes.
Okay, so one thing about Critter Kitchen is that it is, as you expect from the title, stuffed full of animals. All the critics are animals, all the zoo chefs are animals, all the restaurateurs are animals. And again, we were saying today that like animals is such a verdant theme. Like you can just...
It's great because there's a lot of just personification tied into animals, right? Like a lot of our expressions are like, oh, that person, is like owlish or like...
I'm hungry as a horse.
Sure. Or you can lead a horse to, we use animals as expressions and euphemisms, and like they have a known quantity to them, right? Like brave like a lion, or timid like a sheep.
So
like
in Clue, obviously you're playing, actually I don't know if they're different in America and Australia.
We call it Cluedo, right?
Yeah, we call it Cluedo. Do you know about that?
Yeah.
It's a pun off Ludo that you guys just... You were too American to get.
Ludo means game in German, right?
So there's all the characters are colors, right? Like there's Reverend Green and
Mr. Red, Mrs. So it'd be like Mr. Rabbit.
Yeah,
Mrs.
and so then
Giraffe,
you're suddenly like, cool, I'm playing a rabbit trying to solve a murder mystery. That's super cool. So I would give all the players an animal and have, because of the way that we design, I'd have 40 more animals that you can choose from. And they move differently based on which animal they are, or they can like, the dog can sniff out clues that the other players can't.
Oh yeah. Or the giraffe can like see the dust on top of the armoire.
The giraffe can like see 2 rooms over. So when someone over from you gets to look at a card, you get to look at one of them, stuff like that.
Ooh, I like that. Yeah. I would set it in a restaurant. I'd make it like, it's like a murder mystery restaurant. If you've ever been to one of those like dinner theater things, right? So someone's been poisoned or something, or we don't know how they were killed. Maybe they were stabbed in the back of the...
Maybe we know they were poisoned, but we don't know what course had the poison in it.
Oh yeah, so they still get the ingredients in, and you have to figure out who, because we're all cooks in the restaurant or servers, or like we all had access to the dishes, and a patron has been poisoned.
Yes,
so we have to
Mr. Body. What would he be? He'd be the one human in the game. There's no other humans.
We call the game Animal Farm.
Yeah. Two poisons good, 4 poisons better. Hey, what else we got? Mission Catastrophe. Well, I mean, it's in the name. Mission Catastrophe.
Low-hanging fruit, but all out.
So Mission Catastrophe is you're racing to get to the escape pods. The mission, as the title suggests, has gone catastrophically.
Cattywampus.
And I think there's one escape pod that you're all racing to get to. So... Okay, I can't just turn everyone to animals in every single game.
You can. That's kind of the game. It'll get very boring if we just do that every time.
Kitchen Catastrophe.
Okay.
Yep.
I like that. So I almost want to make it like have a real-time element to it too.
Oh,
just like we have a certain amount of time. There's going to be a bit of a redesign. Right? So, but just a real-time element, right? Yep. We've got semi-cooperative, fully cooperative. We're trying to everything's gone off the rails. Gordon Ramsay is yelling at us. Critter Gordon
Yeah.
Ramsay, Gordon Ramsay. He is saying, you donkey, you absolute donkey.
I'm trying to run a food pun with escape pod, like escape snow pod or like pea pod or something. I can't quite get it working. It's stuck in my head.
Escapade, is that the type of food? Escapade pod?
Escapade pod. Escargot pod.
Escargot pod. We got to escargot out of here.
So yeah, I think you're like, let's lower the stakes. Let's way lower the stakes.
Yeah, we're in the kitchen. Things are going catastrophically wrong.
One of you is going to get fired.
Ooh, or all of you except for one.
Yeah. Somebody's
going
to get fired.
Someone's being. We're at an Applebee's. Somebody's going to get sent to a different franchise location. Everybody else is fired. They're doing like this Six Sigma, like cut the chaff kind of thing.
Yeah.
Like I think one employee. It's very cutthroat.
I think kitchen catastrophe is the way to go.
Kitchen catastrophe. That sounds like that would be a real game.
Yeah. I mean, yeah, it absolutely. When Cardboard Alchemy are on their 50th title, and they're like, cool, for our 50-year anniversary, we're combining 3 of our early ones. It's kitchen craft, critter kitchen craft catastrophe.
Yeah, we'll go with that.
What else we got, Rosie?
Ooh,
pandemic. Frying pandemic.
You're not even giving me a chance here.
I know. You gotta be quick.
Yeah.
There's so many puns in Critter Kitchen because every restaurateur is a pun off restaurateur. Sorry,
restaurateur.
How dare I?
It's not spelled like how you might think it would be spelled.
You got to stop me before I tell the history of that every time it comes up because I'm so fascinated by that.
You can tell the history. These people don't know the history.
Restaurateur, as a word, predates the word restaurant. Back in the day, back in the medieval times, a restaurateur meant an assistant. And so, like, the carpenter would have a restaurateur. That was the carpenter's assistant. The surgeon, which was not modern-day surgery, it was very rough medieval surgery, would have an assistant, the restaurateur. As the decades and centuries passed, more and more the restaurateur got known as the surgeon's restaurateur. And one of their duties, if you ever helped in a surgery situation, is bringing warm soup. So the restaurateur became known as the person who brings food, and that food was called a restaurant. It would restore you. And then over time, the food became the primary term restaurant and then the place that sells the food. So restaurateur predates restaurant, and we always type it as restaurateur. It wasn't until we got our rulebook editor in that I finally learned how you spell it. And I was like, why is it like this? But yeah, it absolutely predates it. Okay, I'm done.
Which fully answers the question of how pandemic could be.
Someone suggested there's just a panda epidemic.
I
think that's better than anything we're going to come up with.
Sure. Yeah, there's a bamboo shortage. Oh my gosh, a plague of of all the things that could become like zombified or like be attacking you as like a world-ending catastrophe, pandas is pretty up there as being frightening. Right?
But also, like, they're so useless. They can't even keep their own species alive. Like, I'm not threatened by pandas.
And they want to take everyone else down with them.
That's it.
They got a lot of deep-seated panda.
Pandemic.
We can't do better than that. Expansity.
Expansity. I don't know this game.
So Expansity is the game that Peter Bond was the developer on when I was at Breaking Games. When I had a game signed with Breaking Games. It's a city building game, tile laying. It has really nice 3D pieces that you can stack up. So when you're looking at it on the table, it really looks like a little
genuinely, this is one thing I love about working with Alex, is that he has this like vision for what the game will look like that in the best possible way I don't care about. I'm like, that is obviously very, very important. And that's why I love working with these. I'm like, you can care about that. I'm just going to deep dive into mechanics. And so, again, without Alex, like, this game would be a spreadsheet. And he's like, what if instead it was fun and interesting? And I'm like, I guess if it has to be, couldn't it just be a spreadsheet?
Shocking because you're so good at these critter puns.
Yeah. So, okay, I got one for this. You ready?
Critter City.
Frying Pan City. Panda City. Bam!
Panda City. You gotta stop giving us words with pan in.
Yeah. The next 6 lined up.
It's Critter City, right?
Ticket to Ride. Okay, I feel like that's got to be Docket to Ride.
Docket to Ride. What?
Like, you know, when you're when you're running a cafe, this little.
What do they? They might call them that, but like that's not like a common knowledge.
Like a food ticket, I guess. Food ticket to ride.
It's literally in the name already.
Yeah. Well, we call them dockets. That's the docket.
So it's a food ticket.
Rosie from
ticket to fry.
Rosie from Not on Camera. Do you guys call them dockets in the UK, or would you call it a ticket? You can answer that however you're able to. I don't know what powers you have. So yes, I think it's got to be food tickets for sure.
Yeah, so it's ticket to fry, ticket
or
to
sushi
serve.
train.
Sushi train.
Do you not have sushi trains here? Either?
Oh, the little ones that drive.
Yeah.
Ooh, I like that. I'm a fan of sushi. Sushi is my favorite food. Peter, what's your favorite food?
Ticket in UK as well. So apparently Australia is just bizarre. Sorry, what was the question?
What is your favorite food?
My favorite food used to be spaghetti bolognese, but now it's a particular dessert my ex-girlfriend made, which she's a professional chef, and she lives in Australia, so I never get to have it. Also, we broke up, so I never get to have it. But I dream of that. It's like a special brownie.
That's my favorite dessert too.
My ex-girlfriend's delicious.
It's a ticket to ride.
Yes.
Sushi trains.
Sushi trains.
You're trying to connect tables at a restaurant who have different tastes.
I feel like you've never been to a restaurant.
Well, the train has to go to the train.
What if you had different types of sushi
map is
that
a
you're doing like
top-down view of the
a
booths.
draft around the table by handing cards over? And like if you got different sushi, like if I got a wasabi, it would like boost the next one by 3.
Oh yeah, no one's ever done that.
No,
before,
it's a brilliant new idea that'll by an Australian
they
designer.
should call it sushi
Train.
Sushi
Obviously,
train.
yeah. Okay, let's get to the next one. I feel like we went off a million. Ooh,
Now you played this a lot more than me. So
yeah,
this is a lucky duck game. It's got the app assisted.
Yeah. So, Chronicles of Crime, you're a team of detectives working together to solve a mystery, and there's a big deck of like characters with QR codes and items with the QR codes, and it's very app driven. So, like, if you want to go to a location, you take a photo on your phone of that location in the app, and then you can look around like VR, and you have like 30 seconds to look for clues, and you're describing it to other people. And then you can go up to someone and be like, I want to interview this person. You scan the QR code, and it's like, what questions do you want to ask them? And you can ask them questions. And then if you come back later with different information, you will have more information. It's very cool. It's one of my favorite Lucky Duck games. So Chronicles of Crime as either critters.
It's a bit like the Clue one, right? Like it's
there's
a bit of murder or something.
I have on my back burner of ideas. It's called Animal Detectives, and it's critter detectives.
Like
Critter detectives is probably a better name.
Everything can't be a critter game.
I think Critter Detectives.
I like that. Like it's like a surly police force kind of like it's like a hard-boiled detective kind of noir. Critter noir.
Yeah. So I would basically do Chronicles of Crime, but instead of humans or animals, because I think it just escalates. I've been playing Micro Macro. Did I end up showing you that?
Yes. Yeah. Micro Macro City. It's a good
Crime City, Micro Macro, and it's very cute artwork, and they're not animals, but are they animals?
No, they're people with they're like Muppety kind of features.
Yeah, they're very, very cutesy little animals. But then the crimes get really horrific. So I feel like you'd want the critter detectives, the like animal detectives, to be solving like someone said in the comments, like who stole the cheese, not who murdered.
Lower stakes.
Yeah. Lower the stakes and make it a fun family crime thing where you're all animals solving animal crimes.
It's a bit like Judy Hobson's Utopia.
Yes,
right?
yes, exactly that kind of thing. Where like no one dies in that, but there's still like
there's some fun, right? No, they like literally the carnivores are trying to.
No, but anyway. Go see Zootopia if you haven't, and then I want to make that, but Chronicles of Crime.
Okay.
What else we got?
A classic, Settlers of Catan.
Settlers of Catan. No, you're there every time. Settlers of Saucepan.
I like that. Yeah, you have just islands of meatballs floating in the sauce. Settlers of Catan. That is a classic.
I love that game. I feel like. Have you played many of the expansions?
A few. Just Seafarers and one other.
Cities and Knights.
That's Carcassonne, right?
No. Oh, Citizen. I'm pretty sure it's called Cities and Knights. Cities and Knights. The story I've heard is that Cities and Knights expansion is what Catan was originally pitched as, and they were like, okay, what if you made it like half as complicated, and that became Catan?
Probably a good choice. Yeah.
And so I think you could take the base of Catan and do basically an expansion, which is ingredients. So like when you're exploring the island, you're not just getting like the same things at all. If it like you deal them out at the start, if you're the first person there to discover cocoa beans, then you can now like make a recipe that other people can't make.
That's interesting.
I think that'd be really cool. Let's do that.
Well, you could have like the hexes could also be like different types of like farmland for different crops. Like this one is for this thing, this one is for that thing, and then once you harvest and collect, then you're like actually fulfilling a meal order.
I would do a food expansion for the existing.
What's Catan. The equivalent of the robber? What is the robber in Catan?
The dine and dash.
Jumps out on the check. Yeah, you don't. No, it's a little carrot thief. Just comes in at night and like picks your vegetables.
Oh yeah, it would just be a rabbit infestation.
So we aren't the rabbits. We're humans.
Yeah. Genuinely, it's just Catan with an expansion. I just want to make
you heard it here. The radical redesign of Settlers of Catan is Catan with an expansion.
Yeah, I would just make a full food expansion for Catan. That would be the kind of
content that we generate. Yeah.
What do we got, Rosie?
Cones of Denshire. Oh man.
Cones of Dogshire.
Cones of Dog cones.
dog. Yeah, cones of Dogshire, and
Cones
they're
of
wearing.
Yeah,
they're
the
wearing
cones
dog
are you wear them at the. I think there actually is a party game where you have to wear a dog cone.
Oh really?
I
Oh
think
yeah, and you have to catch stuff in it, right?
Maybe I don't know, or you just feel shame, one or the other.
I think cones of Dogshire and their dog
Cones of Dogshire is a hard one to iterate on because we don't actually. I mean, like there are rules because there was that Kickstarter, but like it's
not a real game.
Yeah, it's very.
Rosie's giving us a look. She did not like that. She's like, I gave you a challenge. Stephanie had a question, guys, and you gotta respect.
Well, you know, you put the critters in it and you put the kitchen in it, but you made one fatal mistake. You forgot about the cones.
It's all about the cones.
It's all about the cones.
Yes, cones of Dogshire. Everdell. Oh, okay. Because Everdell's quite crittery already, obviously. Like that's the premise. So instead of building a city, you're all building your restaurant. That's interesting. I would. So the thing about if you haven't played Everdell is a really incredible little like not family way, like gateway level game. Yeah. And it's a lot of like, it's a worker placement game, but it's all about getting the right combination of cards. So if you can build a building and put the right person in that building, then you get like a big bonus. So it's very fun to be like, man, I've got this farmer, I've got this farm. Now I want the two farmers to get married and live together. It's very fun to play.
Yeah.
So the thing about building a restaurant is that it wouldn't like, it not reduces it, but it's a different zoom level. Because you wouldn't be building a bunch of different like rooms in the restaurant to put people in. Maybe offering meals and then trying to get the patrons.
I could see that.
Have you played Everdell?
No, unfortunately not. So
I think you'd really like it.
Yeah, I probably would. I like a lot of gateway games. What would be the equivalent of the giant tree in the middle of the table? what is the big set piece cardboard for this game?
That's a good question. I'm trying to think what's in a like a.
It's also a giant tree. It's
I'm trying to think of what like restaurants have that's like vertical. In my mind, I was like a waterfall. You know how restaurants always have a waterfall in the middle, a big water feature right in the middle of it.
It could be one of those like the rotating room on top. That's like that.
Oh, we haven't done anything with Lazy Susans at all, have we?
No,
that'd be cool.
Yeah,
are they called Lazy Susans?
Yeah. Well, that's very the anti-Susan.
Well, I mean, I'm an anti-Susan kind of guy.
She is very lazy.
Rosie, are you able to kick any Susans that are watching this out? I don't want them in this live stream. This is Munchkin. Okay. Munchkin.
So, I mean, you've got like the weird, like I think critters, what we were saying earlier about how good critters are as a starting point for like abilities and stuff. You just heavily lean into like the theme of like why this critter is doing this thing. So Munchkin's a very chaotic game, right? It's very take that. I stopped you from doing that.
I've got a food take on it.
Okay, no, go for it.
So Munchkin, you're trying to reach the lowest level of dungeon, highest level of dungeon, presumably lowest, like
the hardest level.
The hardest level of dungeon. What if instead you're all competitive eaters trying to eat your way through X courses, and you keep like
it's called Munchkin, but like
Munchkin. Yeah,
it's just
Munchkin.
Yeah, it's pretty good.
That's actually better.
That's pretty good.
Well done, Tim.
Munchkin.
But I think like instead of racing to get to the bottom level of the dungeon, you're racing to get through the 7 courses.
Yeah, 7. You're trying to get to 7.
Obviously, is 7-course meal a thing?
3 course, 5 course,
10 course meal. I don't know.
I think it's whatever number of courses your meal has. Is
yeah, I thought there was a 5-course meal. Anyway,
it's 7 in our game.
I don't know how we got to 7.
Critter Kitchen is
7. Critter Kitchen is very 7 themed, so it's correct.
Yeah, one thing we did a lot in Critter Kitchen is we have a lot of like 7 is just like most things are in 7s. Like the highest number value is 7 of an ingredient. There's 7 courses. There's 7 rounds. Like it's very.
When I first came up with those, what became carts, I came up with 7 of them, and I was like, "Cool, that's the perfect number." And now we have 3 stretch goals.
They'll see how many. You can't say how many.
And then there's 7 design diaries, of course. And then I think the player count is public.
Yeah.
Yes. Okay. Good.
5. It's completely different. No, 7.
Yeah. We. I didn't get the room to tell that story in the design diaries. I don't think. No, I did. That's right. So the game started as 2 to 5. We're talking about Critter Kitchen. This game. It was a 2 to 5 player game, and then we were trying to get to work for 6 because it's mostly simultaneous. So we're like, this should stretch to 6, right? And we tried a few different times. We played with like a bunch of people at Dice Tower West. We played at Origins with 6 at one point. We just did a bunch of 6-player games that never we just couldn't quite get it to work. And then one day Alex said, everything in this game is 7s. It would be so nice if this game could play to 7. And I was like, oh yeah, we can do that. I don't know why. I could not work out how to make it play 6 reasonably, but 7.
Right. Well, it's the difference between taking an existing system and trying to stretch it a little bit further than it really wants to versus just and it's a small change. It's not a major change. The 6 and 7 player mode is basically just the game, but
6 and 7-ified.
6 and 7-ified.
Yeah. It's a different mode.
Six is more in common with the 4-player game. 7 is more in common with the 5-player game, the way it ends up working out. But it's very simple.
Yeah.
And just making that light little change, that light little tweak.
Suddenly
7 feels like
go
5.
to 7. Yeah.
It does not stretch the game further than it wants to be stretched. Yeah.
I read a book as a kid. It was a wizard who was employed by a king, because that's kind of books I read as a kid. And the king was like, "Could you turn me from a dog back into a human if you needed to?" The wizard's like, "No, I couldn't do that. What I could do is turn you from a dog into a 3-headed king, and then from a 3-headed king into a king." And that logic has always stuck with me. It's like, no, you can't do that, but you can do it this way. That's exactly what it was. It was like, I don't know how to do a 6-player game. I can do a 7-player game and by extension a 6-player game, but I can't do a 6-player game. All right, what do we got, Rosie? Canvas.
Ooh, I've never.
I don't think either of us have played Canvas. I know the premise, which is that it's cards that you overlay.
Oh yeah,
it's like transparency.
Oh, then
cards.
it has to be food. You're like making the perfect dish, right? You've got like the different ingredients.
Oh yeah, making a burger and like making yeah,
or just like a fancy dinner. And you got like the sides, and they're in different places.
I want it to be burgers and sandwiches, man. I want to be like the last card you put on is the bread.
Cookout. What's the game you showed me on VR?
Oh yeah, Cookout.
Yeah.
So like you start with a base bread on your board, and then you're trying to get as much stuff stacked before you put the final bread on, which could be a token instead of a transparent card. And you're trying to make the best sandwiches. Christine actually had a recommendation that we've completely ignored because I'm so excited about the idea of sandwiches. We should get sandwiches.
Yeah. All right. We're going to go get sandwiches.
Uno.
Ooh.
Do you say Uno or Uno?
I say Uno.
Uno.
As it's pronounced.
In different countries say words differently.
But it's a Spanish word.
It's an English title.
So
Uno.
Uno as a
numbers on cards. That's interesting.
So so the obviously like the core of Uno is like you are getting close to running out of cards and you declare it. You're trying to hand shed down to a number and then you shout something else.
And you have to match colors.
What is like the psychological equivalent in cooking
all critters
of shedding your hand down and then like announcing it, right? So
you're trying to get rid of the matching part.
You're the free sample people at Costco. These represent the ones that you're trying to get people to eat. And when you shut down, you shout out, and then people try and skunk you.
Wingspan. If only you get an animal theme in there, that would be really nice. Chicken wingspan.
I mean, wingspan already has birds.
I know, but chicken wings is a food.
So
it's chicken wings. Space.
That makes me think we're eating. Wings pan.
Yeah.
Oh my god.
Yeah, it's wings.
It's just
pan.
wing. Yeah, that's good. I don't know if I want to feel like we're eating the birds from Wingspan though, right? Because it already has the birds. If we're making it like that kind of wing, that makes me feel like I'm eating the Wingspan birds, and that makes me feel a little sad.
I'm okay with that. They look delicious.
That's true. So the more exotic, the better. The endangered birds. Actually,
someone's challenging us saying we couldn't do Uno. Okay, now hang on. We got to do this now. We got to take this challenge. Ian Murphy, if that is your real name.
Yeah. Probably Susan.
Oh yeah. If you're a Susan listening right now, by the way,
we've just lost 90% of our backers.
Yeah. This is such a Susan.
The entire campaign was propped up.
Okay, no, we can do Uno. So I want to talk about the color matching because for me that's the core of Uno.
Sure.
So what's a food equivalent of like color matching? I've got stuck in my head like you're talking about food and you're not allowed to change the topic. I don't think that's a good one, but
yeah, I mean the color like. It makes me think of sandwiches or burgers again, right? You've got like red for tomato, green for lettuce, like it's like a ingredient type thing.
Yeah, or cuisines. You could be like, look, we're making Greek food today, so we've got like kebabs and we've got other Greek food in there, olives and stuff like that.
Mm-hmm.
And then once you've got olives, though, you can be like, you know what, pizza has olives. Because when you match the number, you can change the suit in Uno.
Oh, okay.
So it's like, olives. I brought
color
a pizza.
Is like an ingredient type. So it's like you have an ingredient type and you have like a cuisine type.
Yes.
And you can crisscross over two different cuisine type.
Yeah.
You're like following logically, right? You're like at a market and you're trying to get ingredients and like your shop, like the numbers represent like different styles of food that you might be cooking.
Yeah.
And so I like that.
Can you give us a food pun on Uno? Call your wife.
Ooh, no, I cannot.
We have all these restaurateurs. I think I started telling the story and then got distracted by the story of restaurateurs. We have all these restaurateurs in the game who are puns off chef names, which Alex exclusively came up with. And then he mentioned it to his wife, Nicole, and she immediately spouted off like 30 more.
She's like, bam, 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 bam.
And so we sat down, like, okay, we'll write restaurateur for all of these.
Yeah, I'm a pun first designer.
Yeah.
Actually. Some people are theme, some are mechanic. I like to start with a pun.
In the chat, Jennifer said starters means puddings and drinks instead of cuisines, which is interesting. Like working through them. Okay, Rosie, we skipped over some, so you're welcome to go back or give us a new one. Whatever your heart is telling you. Your cold British heart. Yeah, she is horrified at the way that I'm talking about her cold British heart. Okay, I don't know horrified
but again,
at all.
Please, yeah, no.
Horrified.
Or Dorvified.
Or Dorvified. I don't know this game at all.
So Horrified is a Ravensburger game. You have the different sort of classic monsters. Like I've played their other game that uses a very similar system, so I can kind of summarize it for you, but I haven't actually played Horrified. But you've got like the classic movie, like, you know, there's like a werewolf and a mummy and like that kind of stuff, and they're like moving around
the universal
nodes on a map, and you're going around trying to like collect things.
But you are the monsters?
I don't think so.
Oh, yeah.
I could be wrong.
You're trying to collect the monsters?
How
do the monsters relate to the
Richard,
map?
would you like to very quickly type a 5-paragraph explanation for how Horrified works?
We'll come back. But
Hordorvified. That's a
fried. You gotta get the fried in there as well.
Fried hors d'oeuvre.
Yeah, fried hors d'oeuvres. There we go. Fried hors d'oeuvres.
Well, yeah, we can give you a title for that one. That's not as good as a game. Monsters are roaming around to different food trucks, just like we said.
Yep, that's actually the original game. We didn't change anything for that. Twilight Imperium.
Yeah.
Now you haven't played this one.
I'm well aware of it.
Yes.
Like that's a cultural.
It's on my list of like to-do list to get you to play that at some point.
Yes.
With your copious spare time with 2 kids under 4.
So
Twilight Imperium. Okay, Twilight Imperium is like a 6 to 8 hour game in which your different space factions kind of war. It's called Twilight Imperium because it's the twilight of the previous empire. The previous empire has collapsed, and you're trying to like fill the power void.
Ooh, okay. So we are all zoo chefs who have been training under like a great.
Oh yeah, died,
right. And so the empire is this restaurant empire, right? There's lots of different restaurants out there, and we're trying to be the one to inherit the whole empire. And we're doing that. We all have our own restaurant, which is
we worked under him, and then he kind of like divvied up his.
And in his will, he left it to one of us, whoever can like be the most successful over the course of this year or whatever, right? And yeah, oh gosh. So
the other way to go is to zoom it out a little bit and say the best restaurant in town has just collapsed. Like they got shut down by the health department. And so it's restaurant week, and you're all competing restaurants.
Oh, I like that.
Trying to be the best restaurant. Maybe some kind of like star-based victory condition.
And critters.
Yep. And then every turn you have 3 critics.
Yeah,
you have 3 critics. Every turn you have 3 critics.
Every turn, 3 people come and judge you.
I think you're right. The what's that punny name for
Twilight Imperium?
Yeah. Twi-bite Imperium. Try a bite
Imperium. Oh, it's so good.
Try a bite Imperium. Someone said Gordon Imperium in the comments.
Try a bite. I like that.
That's good. Try a bite Imperium.
Fantastic.
Letter Tycoon.
Brad's game.
Brad's game. This is a Breaking Games game in which you it's a word game in which you're buying the letters.
I'm gonna look off screen, Peter Vaughn. Letter Tycoon, the reason that you and Brad work together now, right? The first time you
as your meeting?
All of
they worked at Disney with my girlfriend.
Yeah.
Total coincidence.
Okay, so Letter Tycoon, the first board game collaboration between Brad and Peter.
Letter Tycoon, you basically it's like it's half word game, half economy, like businessy kind of game. You're trying to be the tycoon of letters. So you're buying the letters, and other people have to pay you to use them to form good words.
So I've got Lettuce Tycoon or Letter Raccoon.
Letter Raccoon.
I think Letter Raccoon.
Letter Raccoon is good. Yeah.
Your raccoons, obviously. No.
I'm trying to think. Like, I want the raccoons, instead of like buying the letters, I want them to just go steal them. Like you're scavenging the dumpster for letters.
That's right. People, the legitimate people have thrown out the excess letters they don't need. So it's all like Q's and X's and like terrible letters. It's all the useless Scrabble letters, but you still have to like spell. You have to incorrectly. You're raccoon, so like you don't know how things are actually spelled because you're raccoon. So you're trying to make a sound that approximates the like
like raccoon noises.
Trying to make raccoon noises.
You're inventing your own language. It's real deep.
But it's also game. Like the 4-hour Euro.
We just have very cool. Do you mean ice cool? Maybe I'm trying to think what very cool is.
I think it's just a comment on how. Cool
how cool we are. or how actually within context, it's about how cool our suggestion is. But I like to think it's really about how cool we are. Lettuce raccoon, best of both worlds. Yeah. You're competing to steal lettuce to make words out of.
Yeah.
Okay, what else we got? And then let's do 2 more or 3 more.
3 more.
3 more. Okay, Boss Monster. So Boss Monster, you are all. I think I've not played it. You are the.
I haven't played it. I don't play board games.
Yeah, that's true. Critter Kitchen's your first. Boss Monster. I'm pretty sure you are like the boss in a video game, and you're trying to defend yourself from
video game theme
from the heroes. Sorry, I didn't read the rest of the context, but I just saw Peter the handsome one in the comments. That's the important part.
Comment, person.
So Boss Monster. So yeah, you're like video game villains, and there's heroes that you're trying to like fend off. I think I don't know if it's cooperative or competitive though. So what's the food and/or critter version of that?
Oh, I feel like it's the inverse of the one we were talking about before, right? Like you are the head chef at a thing.
Oh yeah. Come for the king, you best not miss.
Come for the king, you best not miss.
I was thinking you could also reverse it in that like Boss Monster, the kind of whole thing is that it's a flip on what you normally do. You're not the hero, you're the villain. What if it was Critter Kitchen, but you're the customer?
Interesting.
You're being served by critters.
Ooh. You know, we haven't done yet really is like a pun on like food chain. Right?
Oh,
that's
like
true. It's a food chain, but like the food chain of like animals eating each other.
We should.
Right? Like, I wonder.
We have a bunch of cool merch coming from the Kickstarter, but unfortunately, none of them are a food chain magnet.
That would be pretty good. The look of absolute disgust Peter Vaughn just gave us from off screen was something to behold.
So Boss Monster, I don't think I know enough. Okay, second last
Trailer
one.
House on the Hill. This is a game I have played.
Oh, good. I haven't.
Oh, really?
Yeah, weirdly. It's one of my gaps.
So you have you're like Scooby Doo-esque kind. It's not silly, but like
you critters. You're like investigators, right?
You're like in a haunted house and things are happening, and then at a certain point,
in a valley,
like a hidden valley range.
No. Like Betrayal in a House. Where is the house?
Oh, it's on
in a valley. Is it
in
a plain?
Yeah.
I need more information.
So at a certain point during the game, there's something called like the haunt begins, and one of you turns into a secret traitor, and you're like trying to stop the other people. So it's
give them goods in exchange for money.
Co-op up until someone becomes the hidden traitor, right?
Okay, I got it. There's a hidden trader. So one of you is secretly a food vendor. We're at the end of the hour, you can tell. So yeah, you all think, oh yeah, nice. You all think that you're restaurateurs. However, one of you is a hidden trader.
One of you is the health inspector.
Yeah, secretly.
But betrayal at the
restaurant on the hill. God, I was sitting there the whole time.
Yeah, it was low hanging fruit.
Yeah. So yes, we all work in the kitchen together, but
one of you is a secret health inspector. Yeah, so we are all trying to cut corners, right, to make the food come out faster.
Someone is Sarah in the comments said someone is secretly using pre-made food in the restaurant.
Oh man, that's pretty amazing.
That's pretty great.
Yeah, you just trying to like microwave it while no one's looking, right? It's like Among Us or something.
Yeah.
It's like
but you don't know until halfway through, and you're like, "Oh, I'm not a chef at all. Yeah. I have no idea what I'm doing."
Oh man. Oh, fun fact: there's a Scooby version called Betrayal at Mystery Mansion.
Betrayal at Restaurant on the Hill. Okay, final one, Rosie. Pick a good one. You can do it. I believe in you. No pressure. It's very late for where Rosie is, so we appreciate you being awake. I just saw Campbell's tomato soup, and I was like, how did we turn that into a critter game?
Yeah.
Railroad Inc. Okay, so this is a little roll and write where you've played it?
I've watched people.
Yeah. Little roll and write. You're rolling the little rail dice and the road dice, and you're trying to make the thing. It's simultaneous play. I play this with my girlfriend. It's really fun. Rosie says she can't stand this game. Rosie said this is actually her least favorite game of all time, and she's offended that we're talking about it. And she wishes that her name was Susan, so she could leave the chat right now.
Yeah, wow.
She's very upset that Rosie,
it's
you chose this.
She was able to say all that just with her eyes. Yeah.
She's very good at articulate. She's typing now in the private chat. Okay, so Railroad Inc.
Okay, so Railroad Drink.
That's pretty good.
You are trying to.
You're on like an Orient Express style like thing.
Okay.
I don't.
That's the whole pitch.
I was hoping you would bounce off it, but you were just like, Peter, what is this? I'm like, I don't know. No, you're the one who comes up with the
Maybe you
ideas.
should railroad think harder. Railroad Drink. So you are. It is the early days of the beverage industry in America. it's animals, it's moonshine.
Yeah.
You're
Moonshine.
Yeah.
Moonshine's absolutely.
You're trying to it's prohibition for animal era prohibition.
Yeah.
Right. So you've got
your
animal gangsters. You've got Al Capone.
Yeah. Okay. Animal gangsters.
Prohibition era.
Yeah.
You are trying to like connect your speakeasies via like secret rails.
Yeah. Underground.
An underground railroad, if you will. Yeah.
No. I didn't mean that. I meant literally under the ground.
Yeah. It's like when Homer Simpson does the moonshine thing and he's sneaking it in. Yeah. Click back to the real comments just so we can see what comes in. But yeah, so it's you're trying to connect all of the different speakeasies with your and it's a roll and write, right?
Yes. Yeah.
Okay. Yeah.
Simultaneous play roll and write. So yeah, you're trying to combine speakeasies with animal. I think
animal gangsters puns. Is pretty good. Has there been an animal gangster?
You could reuse Martha Stewart. She went to prison.
That's true.
For being a gangster.
Felon.
Okay, so we're going to spend the last few minutes talking about the game. We got a lot of questions in the comments about a solo mode, which we can say we are working on. It's an interesting challenge. Do you want to explain the concept of Yomi?
Sure. So Yomi, which is a word I learned from Peter over the course of working on this, is a Japanese phrase, which is basically, if anyone here has ever seen like Princess Bride, right? There's I know that you know that I know that you know. That psychology, right? The mind games above the table. Yeah. That is Yomi.
Yeah. On the table is a game like Railroad Inc., for example, where you're trying to solve a logistical puzzle. Above the table, like the most above the table is
I'm going to pause you 1 second. Someone in the comments said Al Capone, like OWL, and that's the best thing I've ever seen in my entire life. Hire that person, Peter.
Yeah. Above the table is stuff like the Resistance or Coup, where it's about reading the other player. On the table is logistical games. And Critter Kitchen is genuinely quite an interesting mix. Because you are trying to solve the logistical puzzle of getting the right ingredients for your kitchen by reading where the other person's going. Alex and I have played, I think we must be over 200 at this point.
Oh yeah, well over.
Well over 200 games of Critter Kitchen. So we live in each other's heads in this game. And Alex will play like 6 levels of mind games. And like
it's funny too, because like level 4, you're like back to the start and then it goes again.
And so Alex will like know that I have a critter that has a certain strength, and he'll know that that he normally plays against it, but instead he'll play the worst move in the hope that I play against
and that's fun. Genuinely like when you're Critter Kitchen, I think, is a game that we have endeavored greatly to make it fun your first play. And hopefully the people who've been playing the taste tests and trying
Which you should do. Come to Discord to play a taste test.
I think it is a fantastic game first play out of the box, but it also has so much to offer on repeated play because of that psychology. Playing with the same people, you having played before, playing with new people, there's all kinds of fun
and then
interactions.
The different variable content. I have in my personal house, I have a 1 shelf rule. So to buy a new game, I have to get rid of a game. So I want games that I can play for the rest of my life. And so again, Cardboard Alchemy have done an amazing job of letting us like just get as much cool stuff into this game as we possibly can. But even like the base game, like we've played it 200 times together. We will play it easily another 100 times in the next few years.
Just for fun. Yeah.
Like we sometimes like, what up to tonight? Let's play it. Like
we genuinely, it is a rare experience, I think, as a designer to have a game
to not burn out on it.
I still feel like I'm learning something new.
Something new happens every game. We're like, oh, that move. I can't give examples because there's stuff that will come out the Kickstarter. But there was a thing we're playing, the 3 of us, Peter, Vaughn, and Alex, and the combination happened that the combo let you do something that is normally impossible. And I was just like, this is amazing the way that like you've made these systems work together.
Yes. So to circle back to Yomi.
Yes.
So we were talking about the design work on the solo mode.
Yes. So the challenge of Critter Kitchen is because it is so Yomi based, you can't solo mode a pure Yomi game. They can never have a solo mode of the Resistance. Like if at the start you draw, I'm a spy or I'm Resistance or whatever the 2 factions are, you can't be like, oh, I wonder what the AI is. I'm going to look into its eyes and try to read it. It just doesn't work. So people have asked us like, hey, solo mode. And for a long time, we were like, it's too Yomi. And then Alex and I have been sitting down and working on it. So nothing's guaranteed.
Peter is a solo mode designer in his own right. He has done this for pay for. Like one of the things that I don't think I mentioned when we were introducing ourselves. Peter, has a company, Jelly Bean Games. He's a publisher as well. I'm the head of development for Pandasaurus Games.
We have between us like 25 published titles,
a lot,
and then another 50 developed.
This is old hat for us. Yeah. But Peter, so when we were doing the solo world for Dinosaur World, one of Pandasaurus's game, Peter designed that solo mode. Peter, that's
Fox Experiment. I didn't do Dinosaur
Fox Experiment. Well, you know what?
Did I?
You do so many.
That's
you
true.
could have just taken credit for it. Fox Experiment. Sorry. So Peter knows how to do solo modes. I don't play a lot of solo modes, so going on this
so
design journey with Peter was fascinating for me. And it went from being something that I was very, very skeptical could work to, oh man, like there's something here.
It feels like what we've got so far, and nothing's guaranteed. Disclaimer. We hope it can happen because we know a lot of people love the solo mode. And what we've got so far, it's still in development.
Peter B is holding a chef knife off screen very menacingly.
we all want to do it. It's just whether it can be logistically possible. So I agree. Like we're all on the same page of wanting to do it now. It's just seeing what's possible within the realm of the world. Playing the solo mode so far, what we've got feels weirdly like playing against a person, which I didn't think would be doable.
Right. Which in the case of a game like this is a lot of the challenge, right? Like if you can pull that off, figuring out the rest of it becomes a lot easier.
We had someone say like, I know how to make a solo mode. You take all the bits and you play this unrelated game. And we were like, that's not Critter Kitchen then. Like if you're playing Critter Kitchen solo mode.
That was my impression of a lot of solo modes before we had this experience. I was like, oh, they did, it's a
they
bad
just
version
take the
of the
bits
basic
and they
game.
make a different game.
And that, to be clear, like if it doesn't happen, that's going to be the why. It's because we don't want to put out something subpar. Right. Like if we can make this work and we can make it deliver on the promise and the experience, which I'm very optimistic that we can, that's how it's going to happen. Right.
We want it to feel like
you're playing Critter Kitchen with someone else.
Exactly right.
Yeah.
Ian said in the chat, and then this is genuinely one of the issues, is that in Critter Kitchen, the moment you know for sure what the AI is going to do, the game breaks. If I know
before you make your choices, if I know that the AI is going to play a mouse there, or like if I know the AI is going to play a ball there, which can pick up 3, I just have to. Someone asked, yes, this is going on for more than 1 hour since Rich was feeling. We're going to wrap up soon though. Not more than 1 hour, up to an hour. If I know that they're going to play a 3 there, I just have to play the 2 there. It's a non-choice, and you're not really playing the game anymore. And so we really want to make sure that it's chaotic, but you can't just roll a die because then at point, why even bother? So we won't go into the weeds, but we've come up with a system that feels like a human, that you can be like, I think they want to do that, but will they? Which is exactly what it feels like. Like, I know you want that 7 carat, but you know that I want it. Are you going to invest in it? We've managed to get that feel. And now we're in development and seeing what's possible. So there are some other questions. Rosie, do you have any queued up for things for us to talk about?
If not, I think we were just going to talk about the Kickstarter, which is
she's gesturing that we should talk more about how Railroad Ink is terrible. And
So Railroad Ink, Rosie asked if you have a copy of this, can you please get rid of it, because she dislikes the game that intensely. She's just really passionate about it.
Burn them, really?
Rosie, let's calm down a little bit.
Some of those things you can't say on TV.
Rosie, those gestures.
Is that like a special UK swear word that we don't know about over here?
Sarah said it's really admirable how much you guys truly care about your game, which is a very lovely sentiment, because we deeply, deeply care about this game.
This is the thing I'm most proud of that I've ever made. And that
you have 2 kids.
I said what I said.
I'm really just excited to see people play this. Brad says we're going to fill the next hour with an improvised musical themed to Critter Kitchen. 1, 2, 3, 4. I'm tone deaf.
Okay. Me too. You don't want that. That would the little viewership number is going to drop to 0 if we start singing.
Shelby's being a real Susan, if you ask me. Thanks so much, Shelby. We absolutely could. We hang out off screen a lot. Also,
we're very good actors. We hate each other so much in real life.
Apparently, the Mythbusters just never hung out off camera. They would just like work together.
I know that Adam and Jamie famously hated each other.
Yeah,
they
just like
I can see that though. Like Adam is very like I can see Jamie just being walrusy about the whole thing.
Yeah.
Ooh, we should do Crit Busters, Critter Kitchen Mythbusters, Critter Mythbusters. Just because Jamie looks like a walrus already. So
is a turban an animal? TERBIN?
Maybe.
Mythbust turbans. What are some of the mechanics of the game you had to cut? So, okay, I'll tell you we had the 3-hour conversation in the car, and then came out of it with a game that mostly worked. And the mostly is very important. Because in Critter Kitchen, you are collecting ingredients to present them to a critic at the end of the game. But the ingredients are numbered 2 through 7. So if that was it, if it was just for the critic at the end, you can only present 1 of each ingredient. Once you get the 7, you just don't care about the ingredient type. Like if I have the 7 fish, I just don't care anymore. So early in the final game, there are these challenges that come out throughout the game. And so Alex very adroitly phrased it once as it's quantity versus quality. Like the challenges, you want as many high numbers or as many numbers as you can. The critic, you want a single high number.
Right.
And that solved all the problems. before we had that solution, do you remember this?
Yeah, the coins.
Yeah,
Oh yeah.
It's embarrassing.
It's not embarrassing. It could have worked. A lesser designer would have kept it.
Yeah, that's true. Cutting it is something I'm proud of.
We had a system of the challenges. Instead of awarding points towards the end of the game, they gave you a coin,
a currency,
right? So you have these coins that you used. If there was a tie, instead of a tiebreaker track, which is what the game currently has, there would be a blind bidding. Take a number of coins from behind your screen, hold them out. The person who bid the most gets first choice at that location.
We kept this in at my behest. I guarantee I came up with the system because I love blind bidding. I mean, in a sense, Critter Kitchen is blind bidding. And I was like, cool, we have blind bidding. Therefore, I'm allowed to put more blind bidding in. And so this coin system was clunky, and like you had to resolve it up to like 5 times. And if you had no coins, it was not fun. And Matt Wolf, an animal.
Shout out to Matt Wolf, yeah.
Yeah.
With an E on the end.
He's a designer local to Alex while we're working this. He kept on telling me to cut this mechanic. And I was like, it'll work. And he's like, do a track. I'm like, tracks are terrible.
He has 2 valuable contributions.
Yes.
It was cut that. And then also we very foolish. So back when this game was still themed
goblins,
fantasy,
dryads, and trolls.
We had the goblin could carry 3 things because they were smarter and could remember 3 things. The dryad could carry 2, it was larger, and then the largest one, the troll, could only carry 1 because it could only remember 1. And Matt was like, why don't you make the bigger one carry more, because they can hold more,
because they can carry more. And we were like,
oh yeah, we should. We changed it in the middle of the game. We were like, that's way better.
Yeah, we immediately we had this moment of reluctance of like, we're used to the other way, and it's like, cool, but we're 2 weeks in. I'd rather be uncomfortable for a few hours and then get the game be better forever.
So the blind bidding, though, that went away and replaced with the challenges.
Mechanic we happily cut.
Right. And that was probably the single biggest mechanic removal that made the game better.
Yeah. Everything else was, and this is going to sound weird, but like, I don't know when the rumors came in or when like the spice came in. Spice actually was very early.
Yeah.
So it was all like adding stuff.
There were a lot of small changes along. So like one thing, this game used to have, so we currently have the star system, right? And the stars were a suggestion from Chris Strain, who's the developer on this game, Cardboard Alchemy.
Who just said, I don't know if you saw.
No, yeah, the troll. Oh, okay. I was going to say something very nice about Chris, but now I'm not, because I don't want the trolls back in. So this game used to just be points, which was you had a critic score, you had the challenge score, and a final score of the game might be something like 110 to 96, right? Which is fine, but the weight of the game wants to have a more condensed scoring system. So Chris very smartly suggested, we could tie it into stars, like Michelin stars at restaurants. And so a star basically became worth the equivalent roughly of 7 points. So when you do the in-game scoring, it's still that way. You tally your score, and then it gives you a breakdown of how many stars it is. But that allowed us to have way more flexibility on the challenges. For it's not just trying to hit a number and then getting that number. It's, you do 6, you get a star. You do 12, you get 2 stars. You do 21, right? Like it's not the same number up threshold. You get 4 stars. So like going for that extra little oomph really gives you.
I think that's the single largest change post signing. I don't know, the Zoo Chef being in every game. Zoo Chef's originally just an expansion thing, and then Peter and Brad loved them so much that they were like, put them in the base game. We're like, okay, like that's fine. But then that was probably the biggest change. Then the stars, and then way later in development than we should have, we reorganized the order of the boards, which is. If you've played the game, it used to go Soup Truck, like Chef Academy, all the other locations, and then Midnight Market at the end. And moving Chef Academy to the end, we did it iteratively, like turning a dog into a king with 3 heads and then into a king. We first moved the Magic Market for the Midnight Merchant. Why the
first. Australian authors are not winning any awards.
We first moved the Midnight Merchant first, and then moved everything. But eventually, the only change was moving the Chef Academy to the end.
Right, which
huge upgrade.
Yeah, it's weird, right? Because like it's one of those things that it sounds like it might not be a big change. It ended up improving the flow so much, and of course, like we go to Peter Vaughn and we're like, "Hey, we want to reorder these," and he's
like, "Oh, really? With weeks before we have to get."
No, it was longer than that. It was
before we had review copies printed.
The prototypes, like the nice prototypes,
So
this is a few months ago at this point.
Chris says in the comments, Chef Academy at the end was an epic move. It was a flat upgrade.
And it honestly, and I'm a big like theme person. Like I care about the story that the game is telling. The way that the ingredients are at the markets, then they get sent to the Chef Academy for the chefs to work with, and then anything that doesn't get used to the Chef Academy gets sent to the food truck so that it can be distributed around the town, right? Like the narrative of how this food is being used sustainably, I guess. I think that that improved that story so much, and now it's very easy for people to handhold on.
The flow is lovely. I really like the I care about the flow of the game. When the Chef Academy was second, and this is like, it meant the only gamble was the Midnight Merchant, because you knew what was at every other location, and if there was nothing at the Chef Academy,
yeah, because the Chef Academy is a no, like it's a public information space. But previously, if you went there, you were
just getting the leftovers from last round,
the previous round's leftovers, so it was like fully known quantity.
Yeah.
Now you can go to the Chef Academy at the end, and if any spaces don't get fully resolved, those excess ingredients will go to the Chef Academy, and it's almost like it's halfway in between a normal space and the black market space.
It's a great little gamble. One thing we worked out very early, like after the drive, when we just played it like for 2 days straight, the thing I think we struggled with the most, and I didn't talk about this in the design diaries either, was the economy of the game, which is a very fancy term for such a simple game. But basically, we needed the space for things to flow down to. The trouble is, if no one goes to the space where things flow down to, everything gets taken, there's nothing to flow down there, which means no one goes to that space, which means everything gets taken, which means nothing flows down there. Yeah. And so it's very easy to get into this loop. And so Chef Academy at the end 100% fixes it.
Yeah. Yeah. And I'm going to toot both of our horns, right? Like I'm very proud of the tiny little changes we made throughout this process that make the game so much smoother and better. And it is a meticulously iterated and tested game at this point, so we're very proud of it.
It is past the hour. Everyone should go to Discord. You can play taste test of this game, which is a really cool model that I think Peter and Brad came up with, where it basically starts halfway through a game, so it's a condensed version of the game, but gives you the flow of it, and then really makes you want to play a full game. Yes. It teaches you the game. It does a great job of dropping you in halfway.
You're getting 90% of the experience in half the time.
Yeah. It's really fun, and you should go to Discord, sign up for a game,
and come out on Tuesday for the launch.
Yeah. Come here.
I want to do some quick shout outs to people.
Yeah, please.
Christian for his development work on the game, fantastic, been great to work with. Rosie for all the social media stuff, working her butt off and hating Railroad Inc.
Gosh, she hates that game. It's so weird.
Peter and Brad for basically letting us do everything we wanted to do with this game, very kindly. Like, it is
don't tell their other designers that. They'll be like, wait a second, we get to what?
Sandara for the incredible art. Yeah,
and world building.
Yeah,
and
like so many times, like literally Sandara would do things with her like speculative art that we would then incorporate in semi-mechanically just because we're so excited about it.
So many of her sketches, I was like, oh, this is done, right? She's like, no. I'm like, this is better looking than any other game on my shelf.
A lot of games finished art.
It's so ridiculous.
You know, we'd
talented.
Still be mechanically proud of Critter Kitchen if it didn't have Sandara art, but it takes it from like a 10 to like a 27.
So. Lauren, who works here at Cardboard Alchemy,
Lauren's great. Yeah,
puts all the tabletop and tabletopy things together. She does such a great job. Yeah. I love just chatting to her about the workings of it.
Dwayne, who I haven't met, but
he seems cool. Yeah, Jeff, our rulebook editor.
Yeah, the whole Cardboard Alchemy team,
and one of the designers.
Is it me?
We'll find out.
Yeah.
Thanks, guys, so much. Thanks, Rosie. Thanks, everyone. Bye.